There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew shatters in an instant, and you're left standing in the wreckage wondering how you missed all the signs. 30 years. That's how long I gave to Prescott Industrial Solutions. I started as a junior analyst fresh out of college, back when the company had one office and maybe 40 employees. I was there for every expansion, every merger, every late night when we thought we might not make payroll. I missed my son's baseball games. I cancelled anniversary dinners. I told myself it was all worth it because I was building something, securing my family's future. My name is Thomas Brennan, and this is about the night I discovered that my entire life had been a carefully constructed lie. The retirement party was Gerald's idea. Gerald Prescott, my boss, the CEO, the man I'd considered a mentor and friend for 3 decades. He insisted on throwing me a big send-off at the Riverside Convention Center. "You deserve this, Tom," he'd said, clapping me on the shoulder. "You've been the backbone of this company." My wife, Melinda, seemed more excited about the party than I was. She'd bought a new dress, dark green, elegant, more expensive than what she usually wore. She'd been to the salon that afternoon. When I commented on how beautiful she looked, she'd smiled and said, "It's your special night, I want to look the part." I should have wondered what part she meant. The ballroom was packed. Maybe 200 people, employees, clients, a few old friends. There was a slideshow of my career highlights, a catered dinner, an open bar. People kept coming up to shake my hand, telling stories about projects we'd worked on together. It felt surreal, like attending your own funeral while still alive. Gerald took the stage around 8 o'clock. He was always good at speeches, charismatic, confident, knew how to work a room. He talked about the company's history, about the early days when we were scrambling to compete. He told a funny story about a disastrous client pitch where I'd saved the deal with some creative problem-solving. Then his tone shifted. "Now, as Tom moves into his well-deserved retirement, we face the challenge of filling very large shoes," Gerald said. Tom didn't just crunch numbers, he understood people, he built relationships. He created the culture that made this company what it is today. People were nodding. I felt Melinda squeeze my hand under the table. "That's why I'm thrilled to announce that we're promoting someone who embodies those same values," Gerald continued. "Someone who's been working closely with our executive team for the past 18 months, demonstrating exceptional leadership and vision. Someone who understands what this company needs to continue growing." 18 months. Something cold started forming in my stomach. "Please join me in congratulating our new Vice President of Strategic Development, Melinda Brennan." The room erupted in applause. People at my table were turning to Melinda, offering congratulations. She stood up, smoothing her dress, and I watched her walk to the stage. Gerald extended his hand but then pulled her into a hug that lasted just slightly too long. His hand lingered on her lower back as they turned to face the room. I couldn't breathe. Not from shock at the promotion. Melinda had been doing some consulting work for the company, I knew that, but 18 months. She told me she was doing part-time project work for 6 months, maybe 7. And the way Gerald was looking at her now, the way her hand rested on his arm as she leaned toward the microphone. "Thank you so much, Gerald," she said, her voice steady and confident. "This opportunity means everything to me. I've loved working with the executive team, learning the deeper aspects of the business, and I have to thank my husband, Tom, for his unwavering support during this transition." The room applauded again. Everyone was looking at me, expecting me to stand, to smile, to play the proud husband. I stood, I smiled, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. 18 months ago, Melinda had started going to the gym 3 mornings a week. She'd joined a book club that met every Thursday evening. She'd taken a weekend business seminar in Denver, then another in Phoenix. She'd been more distant, more distracted. When I'd asked if everything was okay, she'd blamed stress, told me she was figuring out what she wanted to do with the next phase of her life now that our son was grown and independent. I'd believed her. God help me, I'd believed every word. Gerald was talking about vision and leadership and the future. Melinda was glowing beside him, looking more animated than I'd seen her in years. And I was remembering something I'd done 6 weeks ago that I hadn't thought much about at the time. Our home security system had been acting up, randomly triggering alerts. I'd called the company, and the tech had remotely accessed the system to diagnose the problem. While he was in there, he'd mentioned that our cameras kept trying to record, but the cloud storage was full. I'd paid for expanded storage and downloaded all the old footage to clear space, meaning to review it later to see if we'd captured anything interesting, maybe the fox we kept seeing in the backyard. I never got around to watching it. The files were still sitting on my laptop at home. The speeches continued. People came up to congratulate Melinda and shake my hand. Someone handed me a glass of champagne. The band started playing. Gerald asked Melinda to dance a dance with my new VP, he said, and people laughed like it was charming instead of watching my wife press herself against my boss in front of 200 witnesses. I excused myself, told people I needed some air. I walked out to the parking lot, got in my car and drove home. It took 23 minutes. My hands were steady on the wheel. I felt strangely calm, like I was moving through water. I opened my laptop and started going through the security footage. Our system had cameras at the front door, back door, and one covering the driveway. I started with 18 months ago and began scanning through timestamps when Melinda said she'd been out. I found the first one within 10 minutes. A Tuesday morning, 9:15 a.m. Melinda's car pulls out of the driveway. 40 minutes later, Gerald's BMW pulls in. He uses a key to enter through the front door. 3 hours pass. They leave together, Gerald's hand on her back, both of them laughing. There were dozens more, different days, different times. Thursday evenings when she was supposedly at book club, Saturday afternoons when she said she was running errands. The Denver trip, Gerald's car was at our house the entire weekend. I made a compilation. No commentary needed, just date stamps and footage, a clear timeline of 18 months of lies. I saved it to a thumb drive, then made 2 backup copies. Then I drove back to the party. They were cutting a cake, now my retirement cake. Gerald saw me come in and waved me over, looking relieved. "Tom, we were worried you'd buy late on your own party. Just needed to take care of something," I said. I walked to the AV table where the tech was managing the slideshow and music. "Hey, can you play something for me? One more slideshow for the end of the night." "Sure thing, Mr. Brennan, it's your night." I handed him the thumb drive and told him which file to queue up. He nodded, not questioning it. I walked to the stage, asked the band for a moment, and took the microphone. "I just want to say a few words before the night ends," I said. My voice was steady. People settled into their seats, smiling, ready for a sentimental speech. 30 years is a long time. You learn a lot in that time. You learn about dedication, sacrifice, loyalty. Melinda was watching me from a front table, a small frown creasing her forehead. "You also learn that sometimes the people closest to you aren't who you think they are," I continued. "I've spent the last half hour reviewing some very interesting footage from our home security system. I think everyone here should see what I saw." I nodded to the tech. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. Date stamp 18 months ago. Gerald's car in our driveway. His key in our door. Time lapse of 3 hours. Him leaving, Melinda following, his arm around her waist. The room had gone completely silent. The video continued. Different dates, same pattern. Meeting after meeting after meeting in my house, in my bed, while I was at work building the company we dedicated our lives to. I watched the screen, not the room. But I could feel the silence like a physical thing, thick and suffocating. When the video ended, a clip from just 3 days ago, I turned to look at them. Melinda's face was white. Gerald had stood up, was opening his mouth to speak. "I don't need explanations," I said into the microphone. "I don't need apologies. I just needed everyone to know the truth about what kind of people they're celebrating tonight." I set down the microphone and walked out. Behind me, the silence finally broke into chaos, voices rising, chairs scraping, someone shouting. But I didn't look back. My lawyer was very interested in the footage. So were the members of the board, who hadn't been particularly thrilled with some of Gerald's recent decisions. It turns out that using company resources to conduct an affair with an employee's spouse, then promoting that person to a VP position, creates some significant liability issues. Gerald resigned 2 weeks later. Melinda filed for divorce, which saved me the trouble. The settlement was extremely favorable to me, especially once my attorney explained how her new position and income would affect alimony calculations and how her infidelity would play in court. I don't know what I expected to feel after everything came out. Maybe vindication, maybe satisfaction. Mostly I just felt tired, 30 years tired, but also strangely free. The board offered me a consulting position, which I declined. They asked if I wanted to come back in some capacity, said they'd make it worth my while. I thanked them and said no. I sold the house, too many ghosts, bought a smaller place in the mountains where I'd always wanted to retire. I spend my days hiking, reading, finally learning to play the guitar I bought 20 years ago and never touched. Sometimes people ask if I regret how I handled that night, if I wish I'd confronted them privately instead of publicly. The answer is no. They conducted their affair in my home, in my bed, while maintaining a facade for the world to see. They would have continued that facade, would have smiled at that party while everyone celebrated their deception. I simply made sure the truth had the same audience as the lies. I'm 63 years old. I gave 30 years to a company and a marriage, and both betrayed me. But I'm learning that sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted is how you discover what you actually need. These days I sleep well. I wake up to mountain air and silence. I answer to no one but myself, and that recording, I kept all the copies. Insurance, my lawyer called it. A reminder, I call it, that the truth doesn't care about timing or convenience or who it embarrasses. It simply exists, waiting for someone brave enough to press play.